So part of my past is having, because of a relationship with God like we all have. The Spirit said, do what I've called you to do, and I'll take care of the rest.
When you get into that space of realizing who you really are at a core, which is energy, then you can raise your vibrational frequency, your energy level, up to a level where you can connect and make that divine connection.
Black people in this country have to embrace ownership. We don't own anything. Therefore, all the dollars we get go out to somebody else who owns things.
Look for a miracle in America's mess and make a testimony out of your test. Well, kind greetings and welcome to the hospitality of God. This particular broadcast is titled Triumphant Thursdays with Dr. PJ, and we are so grateful that you are with us tonight, and we are expecting others to join us. And before they do, we want to share with you that our overall goal for Triumphant Thursdays with Dr. PJ is informational. Well, let me put it in the correct order, is for you to experience your own Triumphant Thursday every day of the week. That there is a silver lining behind every dark cloud. There is more often than we may have an opportunity to witness, a rainbow after every storm, every rainstorm. And there's such beauty that if we will just look for it, we will find that there's more beauty then there is non-beauty, and there is more love than there are misunderstandings. And I think that is the opposite of love, is misunderstanding, and that there is more opportunities to understand, so that we can diminish, if not eliminate, the hate that we have experienced over the last 4 years of the previous administrations. And I've noticed that every time I see President Biden with that face of serenity, and in many ways, because he worships every day as a Catholic, he goes to church every day. There is an aura of rightness in his face, and every time I see that, I feel the temperature in America going down. I feel people are settling down and settling in to having improvements coming in to all of us, beginning with the proliferation, I think would be the correct word, of the vaccines. I think there's a third one coming up that may be only one shot instead of 2 shots per dispensing, or giving 1 shot as opposed to receiving 2 shots. And I'm also noticing that the numbers of persons hospitalized and the numbers of people contracting COVID is going down, proportionally speaking. Now, the other part of that is that the numbers of persons dying from COVID is now over 500,000. But I have discovered, as we have been experiencing together the stages of grief, that the sixth stage, which is the stage that we will be discussing tonight, is the most important of all of the stages. Yes, it is important for you to have information about the stages of grief as you experience death and dying of individuals, of pets, losing jobs, your status, your physical status changing from, let's say, a woman having a mastectomy and choosing to go with a prosthesis in order to feel more like a woman is one way of adjusting to the grief of that loss. The loss of a home, or in the case of our fellow Texans, the loss of electricity. But there's even meaning in that, and that is the last stage of the stages of grief, is finding meaning. And I was on a call with Les Brown. Many of you may know Les Brown, who was a legislature in Columbus, Ohio in the 60s and 70s, and kind of took flight as an international motivational speaker in from the 80s, from the 90s on, or I guess from the 1990s on, maybe even before that. But the interesting thing about this particular time, when he was having communication with the rest of us that were on the call with him, is that he asked us if we would support his daughter in Texas by sending her cases of water. You know, she has 2 children. He gave her name, her address, her telephone number, which is very unusual for an international icon to do. But he was willing to share. The information. And, you know, I'm thinking in the back of my head that Les Brown is checking the temperature of those of us who really support him. And so by making that request, I sent his daughter a note saying that I had worked with her dad when he lived in Columbus, Ohio, and that I got a phone call from her dad when I was being installed as the first African American woman and the first woman to pastor Mayflower United Church of Christ in Detroit. And he called me that night, and he said, "This is Mamie Brown's baby boy." And I said, "Les Brown, what are you doing calling me? It's about midnight where I live, and it's been a long day for me, but I'm glad to hear from you." I'm sharing that with you to say that there is always meaning in whatever, or that there is we have the capacity, if not the propensity, to find meaning in all of life's situations. Oh, Dr. Jamie's got something to say.
No,
Yes.
I just smile. I just smiled.
Okay.
Yeah,
Welcome, Dr. J. And let me share with the audience that Touch Me in the Morning, spelled MOURNING. I noticed that. I picked that up. It was an incredible time to examine loneliness. And I want to thank you, Dr. J, for sending that invitation out. And if you have not, do you Is there a way to replay that?
So I do record them. I have not put them out yet. I'm still debating
Okay.
on how I want to do that, but I do. It is recorded, so
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
see.
Very good. And we may not be able to hear from Chaplain Maureen. She's having she's having some technical issues tonight, but I tell you, she was right on this past Tuesday, and I really am hoping that she will continue to work at it and join us tonight, because there are some things that she said on Tuesday that I would love to have her repeat tonight. And Dr. Jamie, for whatever reasons, I felt your presence this past Tuesday. Even though you're not a military veteran, you are a veteran on this battlefield for our Lord. I know. And maybe it was because I had because of my experience with Touch You in the Morning, and how that helped me. And I can only speak for myself, and hope that others had a similar experience. That particular presentation helped me to be creative, to find creative ways to touch myself in terms of hand massage, foot massage, and to even, I didn't say it at the time, but this coming Saturday, this coming Saturday is my god grandson's birthday party. His actual birthday is today, which is also the 7th anniversary of Space for Grace Without Walls. And I can hardly wait, even though he's not a hugger. Now, he I call him Thumper because he likes to be on his feet. He don't want to be sitting on nobody's lap. He'll give you a hug and then he's gone. But I'm so looking forward to hugging my grandson and his mom and dad, who are my god daughter and godson-in-law, and his real grandparents, my best friends and best husband and wife friend. I'm looking forward to that touch. And one of the things that, and I know this is my show and not your show, but I still going to ask this question about what you said this past Friday. What is it okay? Is it okay not to want to touch?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that question, though, right? Because one of the things that we have to give people permission to is to say no to touch too, right?
Okay.
So like sometimes in those faith settings, we force kids to hug everybody.
Right.
Everybody that come into church, they got to hug. You got to hug everybody. No, you don't.
Okay.
Because there might be some touch that you're uncomfortable with. And it's okay to not want to be touched.
Okay.
The challenge right now is that for those who actually do want to be touched and are unable to be touched by another person, then how do we find ways to touch? How do we find ways to address the skin hunger? How do we find ways to recognize our own bodies? Really, that's what's happening in this, right? To acknowledge my body.
Yes.
Right. To maybe to look at myself in the mirror.
Yes.
How do we find ways to do that kind of self-love and self-acknowledgement?
Sure.
But yeah, some people may not want to be touched, and that's okay. Like if you don't want to be touched, you ain't got to explain that to nobody. But if you want a hug, like say that. And what we started doing, the congregation and my pastor, Bishop Flunder knows my pastor. My pastor is Reverend Dr. Leslie Dawn Callahan, and Bishop Flunder knows we all love Bishop Flunder. So we all love the bishop, right? If you don't love the bishop, we all love the bishop. And so Dr. Callahan, we have a thing like if you want to be hugged, you can hug. Like when you see people when we were right, if you wanted to be hugged, you would put your arms out. If you wanted the fist bump, though, you may not want people to hug you, but you want to be right, or you just wanted to wave. Just so you let people know your level of comfort with closeness. And so I do think that's important. But there are some of us who want to be like, can I tell the truth? Can I tell the truth? I would like to be in somebody's arms.
Sure.
Is there too much to say?
No.
That's what I would like. That's what I would like.
Yeah.
I would like to sit on the sofa and watch a movie in somebody's arms.
Sure.
There we go.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. One of the things that you've been, and yes, I will.
You on mute? You on mute, or is it me? Is it me? I can't hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me.
You are on mute.
Okay.
Dr. PJ.
Okay. I'm like, did I hear something?
So I'm going to. Yeah, you're on mute and I cannot unmute you. It says your mic is not connected. Do it without the headset. But while we are working on Dr. PJ's sound, listen, we're just happy that you're here. We thank you for joining us. We ask that you do share this broadcast. It's a very important conversation that we are having. And I'm really grateful, Dr. Jamie, that it was kicked off with you talking about touch, right? Yeah. One of the things that came up for me, you referenced meeting when we're in church, right? I mean, we want to hug and embrace people because we want to welcome them, and but that can be dangerous,
right? Because represent welcome,
right. It's church represents trauma for some people, and so I've made it a habit that whenever if there's new people that come in, if I know you and I know you like hugging. Right. Then we can hug it down, but I always ask, can I hug you, or can I shake your hand, or what is your preference? Because we don't want to do harm to the people that come to the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And so I think that's I'm so mad I missed it on that's just you and I now. And so I'm so mad that I missed it on Friday. But I run a broadcast at the same time.
I know you are. Listen, I know you all over the place, and but that's okay. And here's the thing: that's the beauty of it, is allowing people to acknowledge where they are,
right?
In that touch. Do you know how many relationships where we have not been honest with ourselves and our partners, with our comfort level with touch? And we might need to get therapy around that. Like, it's okay to say that, and so I want us to get to the point where we can be candid about our desire for touch,
right?
Like, if single folks, married folks, wherever you are, listen, it's okay to say, I want to be touched. Right. I do. I would like to have somebody's arms. I want to hold somebody's hand. Like, it's okay to say that. That's not bad.
Right.
That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad desire to have. Because we make people feel bad too, right? Yeah. For being you a preacher. What you mean you want to be in somebody's arms? Yeah, I do.
Yeah. We are relational creatures. Whether we preach, we are relational creatures.
Human.
And we're human on top of that, right? So, that's the first thing. We're human. Yes. And so we do, those of us that, I would say those of us that haven't been swerved by trauma, we want to be connected with other people.
Yeah.
Right. And part of that is touch. And I know for some people, that it means so much. They walk around, especially you might not have the best, the cleanest clothes on. You might One of the things that I remember, and I tell this story all the time. There used to be when I lived in Brooklyn, there was a woman, and every time we came into the vestibule, she was high, and she was high and drunk, right? And she would try, and I would say hi to her, and she would try to run from me, and I embraced her. She's like, "No, don't touch me. I'm dirty. I'm thinking." I said, "No." I said, "Come here." And so I never judged her. Just always embraced her, right? Because I wanted her to know that I saw her and I didn't see her addiction. And so it was a few years after that. There was like 2 years I didn't see her. And I left work early one day. And I was walking across the street. Like I got to my building. It's across the street from the building. And I heard her calling my name. Miss Susan, Miss Susan, Miss Susan. And I was like, oh my God. When I saw her, she was a totally different person. She had gotten clean. She said, I had to come. I waited until I saw you because I needed to come and tell you and say thank you because you never treated me like I was dirt. I would smell like liquor. I would be dirty, and you still embraced me. You still touched me. You didn't look at me like I was, like some dirt on the ground. You didn't treat me that way. And she said, because of that, because I would tell her right in her state that she could, because that she had the word in her, right?
Long day for me.
Right.
And she could, and she would open her mouth to sing, and I'm telling you, healing just dropped from her lips, even while she was, in the state that she was in. And I told her just as she was, that she could minister to somebody else, just like that, right? But she told me, she said, it was because of that she was able to get clean, because I embraced her and saw her and didn't see her addiction, didn't care about her addiction, because I saw her. She was able to go and minister to the same people she was in the house getting high with, right? Get herself clean, right? She was, she began a relationship with a God of her understanding, got married, all these things happened. But it filled, it just filled my heart so much because you never know what your touch means for somebody.
Right. And you said even beyond touch, right? Because I think even as we talk about meaning and acceptance, seeing people, because I get real, like, y'all understand, I'll cry in front of anybody. Like, I have no problem crying. Y'all understand. Seeing people, not diagnoses, not jobs, not clothes, not colors, and trust me, and I'm not saying you don't see me as a Black woman. That's not what I mean, but like just seeing me, not limiting me to like, poor Black woman, like, but actually just seeing me as God's creation.
Yes.
And when we see people and are not afraid to actually touch people, obviously with permission. But when because sometimes we tell people to come into our churches, since this is a faith communities broadcast, right? We tell people to come into our churches, and if they're not dressed a certain way, we don't want them to sit in certain places.
Come on.
And I never went I had clothes. I was showered. Like I didn't live on the street. But I remember going into churches with, like, my skirt was a little too short, right? Or the split was a little too high.
Right.
And stuff. And people made me feel like, you name it.
Yeah.
But I could go and buy something else to wear if I wanted to fit in.
Right.
But there were people, and I didn't have an odor that, right? So, but the person who came right behind me, who did have the odor, so I could sit in a seat, even though you looked at me funny, you wouldn't stop me from sitting in the seat.
Right.
You would just look at me, and maybe you might say something about me to somebody, but you wouldn't stop me from sitting in the seat.
Right.
The person who came in with the coat, that looked dingy. You could see that the food had not been washed, and you could maybe you smelled them before you saw them. Let's be candid. If you can't shower, and this is a coat you've been wearing for 6 months, and it stays in your shopping cart, and you come in and you just want to sit in a place that's warm and maybe hear a word that tells you you won't die tomorrow night when you're in the street, and nobody will sit next to you, and nobody will touch you. Like, I don't want to be in places like that. And so I think about where we are today with people who are grieving, people who have not been touched, and not just people who have not been touched because of loss, because of loss, but think about, let's add to the loss, people who have not been touched because of death. But imagine you haven't been touched because of death and you are homeless. So not only are people not touching you and you've experienced some things that cause you to grieve, but people don't even want to touch you because they consider you untouchable anyway.
Help us, Jesus.
Like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
So when I think about touch me in the morning, I'm just thinking about not just like Jamie, right? So yeah, Jamie does want to sit in somebody's arms and watch a movie, right? She does. But beyond that, there's somebody in the street who literally, maybe they not even looking to come into a shelter. Maybe they just want somebody who sees them enough that when they walk by them in the street, that they aren't afraid to brush up against them.
Jesus.
Maybe that's all the touch I need today.
Yeah.
You not to go out of your way not to be touched by me. Maybe that's all the touch I need today, is for you not to go out of your way, because maybe for you not to feel like touching me contaminates you. Maybe that's all I need. Maybe I don't need you to hug me, but don't think that touching me damns you to hell. Right. So anyway, I think we were talking about making meaning somehow.
Finding
some meaning. But we want to be able to, find meaning in our existence as humanity, and look at how I said this before, like look at how we show up in the lives of others. Yes. And not just our families, not just our church folks, but the folk that you see, that man is always outside Dunkin' Donuts. How you showing up in his life too? Right. So anyway, thank you for those who joined me. Thank you, Dr. PJ, for joining me for Touch Me in the Morning. And glad you're back for your show. Technology. It kicks us all around.
I'm telling you, I even restarted the computer, but I discovered, Pastor Sue, that the problem was with the lamp. Yeah, because once I unplugged that, my mouse went back to working. But I am grateful that you continued the conversation. Really. What you laughing at, Dr. J?
You see, once you unplug the lamp, everything started working again.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I'm glad it's fully charged so that we'll have some light for the rest of the conversation. And I certainly will go back and listen to this to see what I missed, because it looks like I missed a lot.
Yes, you definitely have to go back and listen.
But I left it in good hands. I mean, you and Pastor Sue, I knew that you would step up to the plate and do a home run among many home runs. I would like to put a plug in. Well, I tell you what, I got back just in time for the break. And woo, thank God for laughter. I love it. So after the break, I have some things to share that are related to Touch Me in the Morning. that I discovered in my preparation for this past Tuesday and for tonight, and welcome you to use it as you so see fit or not. Okay, Pastor Sue.
All right, it's time for our break. It's time for our announcements. Yes, we love technology. Technology has been the thing that has kept us going since this pandemic hit. It's allowed us to stay connected, even though we have not been able to be physically in each other's presence, but it has certainly allowed us to still connect. And I know many of us, we're talking about touch before now. Many of us desire to be back in each other's presence again. There's something about being in the same space with people that does something for you. It is healing in spaces like that. So, that was so good. I didn't want to stop, Dr. Jamie, but let's go on and get into these. We're going to get into these announcements real quick. All right. So speaking of Dr. Jamie, she has her next webinar coming up on March 19th. I will always love you, remembering. And she says they are with us. Join us as we remember our loved ones. We will be led in rituals of remembering through naming and the sharing of memories. I do encourage you to register for this free webinar. It is free. The two she did before this one was free, and I want you to get in for free. Before you have to start paying. We want you to pay too, but get it while it's free. Hallelujah. Amen. So go ahead to tinyurl.com/remember loved ones. Again, it is March 19th. It's beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will always love you, remembering if you have lost someone, whether that person passed away or this loss of a relationship, loss of a connection, I do encourage you to please go ahead and register for this seminar. Tomorrow night, I have the pleasure. This is my Friday night gig, but they are pulling me up from behind the scenes, and we are going to talk about basically the spiritual and the secular when it comes to music. So In the Groove presents The Spirits in It, when gospel goodness hooks up with secular soul. And I am so excited about this. I'm so excited about it. I love talking about the separation between what's spiritual and what's secular, and they all come from the same source. I don't know why it's split up that way, but we're going to talk about gospel music. And so I'm excited about that, gospel house and all of the different ways, all the different genres of gospel music we're going to talk about, and also some inspiring and uplifting so-called secular music. And so I'm excited. So please join me and my friends and my boss on Friday nights for The Spirits in It with gospel goodness hooks up with secular soul. Go over to the Facebook page, Rock My Soul Media, and follow, and we will be on there at 7:00 tomorrow evening. Okay, so if you join us on Tuesdays, you know that TFAM's National Veteran Support Group, we begin conversations on Tuesday nights. This series on grief, always starts on a Tuesday night, and then we come back on Thursdays with Dr. Jamie, and she just helps take us a little deeper. And so if you are a veteran, if you identify as LGBTQIA, you're a veteran or you're allied, and you are of color in particular, we want you to join our group and also like our page on Facebook. So please head over to TFAM Veterans, which is our Facebook page, and also TFAM Veterans Group, which is our group. And we have other broadcasts coming up. We don't want you to miss it. So please get connected and hang out with us. And it's not just for those who are members of TFAM. If you have friends or family that fit in that category, I do ask you to share the information with them so they could join too. Chaplain Maureen is not on tonight. Unfortunately, she's having some technical challenges, but the name of her company is Transformations Possible. She is an advanced law of attraction practitioner, and she has life coaching services available. So if you're interested, please email her at transformationspossible@gmail.com or give her a call at 808-264-6252. Cara Solutions. I put the wrong one. I'm about to put the other one up, but we're going to go with this one. Cara Solutions. Focus on your passion and let Cara handle the rest. See, one of the things I love, I have to pause. One of the things that I love about technology as well is that, yeah, you'll make mistakes, but it's all right. It's okay. Remote production and video conferencing administration and tech support is one of the services that I offer. And as far as remote production is concerned, this show is an example of remote production. And so if you are interested in having your own types of broadcasts and you need help, give me a call. Well, give me a call. Shoot me an email. Head over to my website, www.cara-solutions.com, or email me at sue@cara-solutions.com for a free consultation. All right. Triumphant Thursdays with Dr. PJ has advertising and sponsorship opportunities available. We are here every Thursday, and we pray that the content that we offer you is beneficial to you, and we want to make sure we want to help you get your product, your service out to our viewership. And so we are giving you this opportunity to advertise and sponsor with us, and there are 3 ways that you can do that. The first is by an info listing or a banner. And I'm going to show you an example. That is a banner. And so we will put your information in this banner up to 200 characters. And we would show this during our time of announcements. Also, a static overlay, which is what you're looking at right now. It's basically an ad or a graphic that covers the entire screen. The pricing is there. So for the info listing, it's $15 per week. The static overlay or flyer ad is $25 per week. And then also a video ad. I think this is Chaplain PJ's best favorite part, because she always says, when I don't do it, that's her favorite. So this is an example of a, where is my stuff? Yep, there's an example of a flyer ad. All right, so that is an example of a video ad. And so if you need a static overlay, flyer ad, or a video ad created, you can certainly hit me up again at sue@cara-solutions.com. There will be another opportunity for you to give later on in the program before we close tonight. But for now, I'm going to hand this back over to Dr. PJ, Dr. Jamie, and Chaplain Maureen has gotten here, so we're going to hand it back over to her too.
Well, Chaplain Maureen, so happy you were able to join us. I had a computer glitch and I was absent for about, it felt like an hour, but it was probably more like it was probably more like 5 minutes. So I'm going to go back and listen and watch the conversation that Pastor Sue and Dr. J continued. And before I forget, I'm always happy to give a shout out on Pastor Sue and her accomplishments and her journey as now as a seminarian, and also as the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries national youth minister and creator of this program and many others, and invite you to get in touch with Pastor Sue so that she can do the same for you as she is doing for many of us. And always a shout out to her pastor and our colleague, Bishop-elect Reverend Dr. Vanessa M. Brown, founding pastor of Rivers of Living Water. And of course, our amazing bishop, incredible woman of God, just top of the top, over the top, Reverend Dr. Bishop Yvette A. Flunder. Not only is she powerful administratively, she is powerful prophetically. She is a wonderful friend, founder of City of Refuge, United Church of Christ, founder of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, and so an all around amazing woman of God. So when we left off, Chaplain Maureen, I had made the comment that I was hoping you would be able to join us and share with us some of the gems that you shared on Tuesday. And so instead of continuing with our conversation about Touch Me in the Morning, which is a powerful conversation, and it was a powerful seminar, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And it just seems like what we are talking about tonight and what we talked about Tuesday is the summation of what you will be talking about when you do your webinar on
remembering.
Mm-hmm. I certainly. So, Maureen, before I go on, what were some of the things that you said on Tuesday that I asked you to remember to bring up tonight? And I pray that you wrote it down.
I remember talking about ritual and how important ritual is in terms of being able to find meaning. I was talking about the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall and how much that means to me and many others. And I was talking about finding meaning in my own life, how I am going to, hopefully in the next 5 years or so, open up an alcohol and drug rehab center that is for the dual diagnosed, for people that have mental health conditions as well as addiction issues. And that all came out of directly what happened to me, because I went into alcoholism as a result of what occurred. And so I want to now provide relief for people who may have the same issue. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I have found meaning out of tragedy.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chaplain Maureen. Pastor Sue, will you put up the little clip that we used Tuesday to show what we would prefer grief work to look like? Mm-hmm. But in actuality, how grief actually works is there at the bottom. And I'm wondering, Well, first of all, let me say that I found finding meaning to be all encompassing. It may not talk about the other stages of grief per stage, but it certainly goes into a deep exploration in layperson's terms. Finding Meaning is the book to have in your library, in your study groups, in your book club, and in your individual reading. It certainly is not the last time that I will read the book, because I came to understand that finding meaning, and in the case of a loved one that has died, that finding meaning includes honoring as you said, Dr. J, naming, or as you said, Chaplain Maureen, the Vietnam Wall. Is putting something tangible, a ritual that's tangible, that brings meaning to the person, meaning to the life of the person that had died, and that meaning relates to my meaning in having that person in my life, if even for a short time. The author talks about learned helplessness. And I found this funny and sad at the same time, because it is so typical of humanity, particularly when we are in the early stages of a breakup, or early stages of grief. I really should put it that way. He says in this on page 86 under learned helplessness. Let's see. I don't know if she was sharing her experience or looking for help, so I asked her. She responded with, "The pain is unbearable and nothing will help me. What city do you live in?" I was afraid, says the author, it was a small city with no resources, but she responded that she lived in a major city. So I sent a link and told her, this is from grief.com, and there are some free support groups in your area. She wrote back, I'm not a group person. I got it, I said. So here's a link to counselors in your area. I can't go out. Are you physically challenged? I asked. No, the grief is just too much to bear. You never leave your house? Just for work, groceries, and sometimes Starbucks. I have an online workshop and group that may help you. I told her, let's private message each other the details. In a message, she wrote, if there is a cost, I can't afford to pay for it. I'm happy to give it to you if you can't afford it. She agreed. But the bottom line that he finally got to was she really didn't want any help. And she was looking for every excuse in the book not to get help, in part because she felt that it would take away the pain, and the pain, she could use the pain to comfort her. I don't know how people find comfort out of pain, but I suppose some people do. And so I was going to say something about that before we closed, before we went to our announcements. And of course I didn't write it down, so now I don't remember what it was. But I do know the one thing that I remember is that it is important to move on from wherever you are to find meaning in the relationship, even if it's a separation or a bitter divorce or a contentious relationship, and it's better for both of you to move on, that you still may want to write down all of the good things that you can remember from that relationship, or all of the good things that you can remember from a deceased person that said, let's say for an example, molested you. But to remember all of the good things about that person possibly will bring you to a point where you're willing to consider healing. And of course, the author also talked about forgiveness and how there are some people that just refuse to forgive because for whatever reason they want to hold on to the pain. The one thing that he said about losing a child was that according to the Dalai Lama, Buddhists believe that children who die young are masters who come to earth to teach us about impertinence. I hadn't looked up the word impertinence yet, but I've got a feeling it means cocky. Is that what impertinence means? No, that's not what it means. What does it mean, Chaplain Maureen?
Impertinence means not lasting long.
Really?
That's my understanding. Impertinence, as in imperfect, as in not lasting, impermanent.
Dr. J.
If I'm understanding the word correctly.
Okay.
I think it deals with like rudeness or respect too.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Lack of respect.
Let's look it up.
So what does that have? So how does the death of a child teach us about respect or lack thereof?
How to honor life, how to respect the amount of time that we're given in life, I'm just,
sure.
I haven't read the quote, but to respect every moment that you're given. You don't know that you will live for 90 years. You may only get 6. So respect the 6, to honor the 6, honor every moment, respect every moment you have, because you might only get 6 and not 60. So perhaps that's part of it. But I would challenge the author, and I need to look back at that a little bit, that I don't know that if someone's foot is on my neck, if my experience in life with someone is their foot on my neck, my experience in life with someone is abuse, I don't know that everyone has a positive encounter with everyone in their life. Sure. I don't know that. I don't know that every child can write out a positive encounter with their parent or guardian. I really don't know that.
Sure.
So I think finding meaning and finding healing has to be something beyond that. And I know that we don't have time on this show to do that, for perhaps those who will listen might even sort of meditate on that, right? That healing and wholeness might be beyond the individual experience and something that might just something eternal and beyond and greater, right? Because the truth is that I don't know that I can sit down and write down it, the person who molested me. My only experience with them growing up is them being around me for that.
I see. Okay.
They are my cousin.
Okay.
Other experience, I didn't experience them the way I experienced my other cousins when we actually spent time together and laughing and joking and all of those other things. I don't have those experiences with that cousin.
Okay.
So I don't know that I could write down anything. I heard he was smart. I don't know that.
Sure.
Right? So I don't know, when we start to think about meaning and all of, I don't know that the writing down, finding something positive about that person is the piece that gets us to the healing.
Got it.
It might be something beyond that.
Okay.
I would have to agree with that. When you read that, I had a problem with it. I reacted to it because
you felt it.
In my case, I was gang raped. What's positive about that? Excuse me. There's nothing positive about that. What can I say? That the guys existed on earth and they're children of God too? I mean, there's nothing positive that I can say about somebody who gang raped me. And that was my experience with those men.
Yeah.
I didn't have any other experience with them. And so I don't agree with the author. I don't think that that's necessary to do. And I don't even recommend doing it. What I think you need to do is find out what's the good thing about you in it. For instance, I have persistence in my life today because I knew I needed to move on beyond that and keep on going and never stop.
Wow.
And so now I have the positive trait of persistence in my life. What's good about me is that I have been able to let the situation go. When I look at them now, I'm able to say they're all in their 80s. God bless them. They're going to meet their maker soon and have to account for what they did. I'm comfortable with meeting my maker if he shows up tonight. I haven't done anything wrong that I have to account for, but they did.
That is so helpful.
So what I look at is what are the good things that happened for me out of the situation, not what was good about them. There was nothing.
Dr. J, and if you have if you have another week, we will certainly extend this conversation to another week. And if not next week, whenever your next Thursday or Tuesday that you're available, because I am learning that so much about what I don't know. I mean, even though I should have thought, and I'm not trying to should myself, I'm trying to share that what have I learned did not occur to me, even as I was reading the book. I mean, and you're right. Why do I need to write down what's good, what's good about that person, which was an uncle in my case, that molested me? But you know what? All of this conversation about grieving and these stages of grief have really helped me to go back in life and heal from that experience and to understand it wasn't anything that I did wrong. Mm-hmm. So we do need to continue this conversation because number one, we're out of time, and number two, I think that it would behoove us, because I'm sure that there are people in the audience saying, "Oh no, we've got to have more of this," and I'm certainly willing. And in agreement to have that. And after we're over, we'll have more conversation about Dr. J's schedule so that we can get that out to the community. And so let me say in closing, or let me ask each of you for your closing remarks. We'll begin with you, Chaplain Mo.
I would just say finding meaning is important and relevant and necessary. You have to be able to find meaning out of whatever happened, whoever you lost, whatever relationship dissolved. Excuse me. In order to move on, you've got to find meaning. So do whatever you need to get there. Meditate, go to groups, get counseling, talk to relatives, whatever it takes. Because, for instance, you won't be able to move on to a new meaningful relationship until you have closure from the one in the past. You won't be able to find meaning in the new one.
Dr. J?
I would just say, as you go through loss, just be okay with sitting with it. You know, the meaning and stuff. I know, Chaplain, like, we're gonna get there. But tonight, sit with it. Like, and Chaplain Maureen talked about this before. Like, it's okay to sit in it for a minute. Don't rush through it. be okay with not being okay. We want you to be okay. Like we're not going to leave you. We're not going to leave you where you are. But it's okay today if you tell us you're not okay. We are okay with that. And we're going to accept you right there with your I'm not okay self. And sometimes the letters that we are writing, that we talk about sort of writing to other people, sometimes those letters we are writing to ourselves. And that's why before I shared, and this is, I'll just read the line that I said in the poem, that one night in August, I sat with my tears, my anger, and my hurt. I gathered my strength and took a deep breath. And I told that 6-year-old that it wasn't your fault. And I told that 13-year-old that you shouldn't have to go into the clinic alone. And I told that 20-year-old that you are special just the way you are. And I told that 27-year-old that you don't have to hide who you are, just be the best you. And I told that 30-year-old that you've come a long way, but you still have some work to do. And I told that 35-year-old that it's okay to smile and to cry because it doesn't say you're weak. And I told that 36-year-old to go and get yourself some sleep because I had learned to sleep without sleeping. And that's what the poem is called, Sleep Without Sleeping. I won't read the rest of it, but sometimes the letters that we are trying to figure out a way to write to other people, we actually need to go back and write to ourselves so that we can begin that healing journey through our own grief for the things that we lost in the journey. So I'll stop there.
Thank you for the honor of your presence, and good night.
I would like to request prayer tonight. My sister Roberta has been diagnosed with lung cancer.
Would you like to end us with prayer?
Lord God, we just ask that you be with all people who have experienced some type of loss or are in the process of loss. Lord, comfort them. Wrap your healing arms around them. Touch each and every one involved in the situation. If it's a relationship ending that is supposed to end, allow the people to be able to let it go and move on. Lord, I ask that you walk with me every day and keep me strong and hold me up and let me know that you walk beside me. I ask all these things in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
My goodness, I think, Pastor Sue is still with us.
Listen, I'm going to show you. Wait.
It says we're live. Are we still live or no?
No.
Okay.